glow on top of animals in light aircraft and helicopters to try to really show people the diversity of the place and how wonderful it is. Not enough to show buffalo, not enough to show just elephants. We show elephant poop. We'll show dung beetles on that elephant poop. Whatever it takes to get people interested. This type of picture won't run in National Geographic anymore, really. Don't tell my bosses I said that, John. It's a long lens picture. It's what we call a straight picture. Even this, it's kind of an intimate moment, but I don't think so. You need this type of thing. You need this type of thing? No, probably not. We've seen that we need to be surprised. We need cats coming off of Cape Buffalo they've killed. We need them on antelope they've killed that night with camera traps. Right on top of things. BBC's Planet Earth really raised the bar. That's what people expect. Expect that you're right next to a hyena at night as it lounges in an infrared glow. Or birds coming to the table. Whatever it takes, I don't care. This is a cleaning station for mongoose, where they have one group of mongoose that service one group of warthogs and clean the ticks off of them. It doesn't happen anywhere else. It's one spot. So I don't even know what this is about. Don't even ask me. But the point is, we show all this, again, to sucker you into things like this. They're stitching their mosquito netting together along the Albertine Rift in the lakes, stitching the mosquito nets together to sieve every single living fish out of those lakes. They're down to the minnows now. That's it. Okay, well, what else can we do though? We need more. Still photographs are awful quiet. Let's do a little film. Let's do a little show. This has sound as well, but I'm not going to screw with it. Okay, so now we're putting our cameras on little cars and we're going to send them out and we're going to try to take people out. It's just got to be this experience. So we have these experiences and now we can take them, literally take people right up to the Cape Buffalo, right into the herd. Full sound, HD, all that stuff. I'll show you how we do like one picture with this. Very simple, really. Costs money, but it's very simple. Okay, so there's a picture. Does it run in the magazine? No, it doesn't. So what do I do? I'm out of ideas. What do I do? This is a race. It is an absolute sprint. We're going to lose everything unless we turn things around. This talk John just gave was one of the most encouraging things I've heard in a long time. I got tingles because country after country I go to, I see people absolutely stripping everything out, just stripping it out. So I've gone to a thing called the Photo Ark. I called it the Biodiversity Project for a long time, but nobody knew what biodiversity was. So called it the Photo Ark. I've got some 2,500 species almost on black and white. Why put them on black and white? Well, because I want people to actually see these animals and look them into the eye. I figure 2,500 species, okay, there's 2,500 chances here to get people engaged. If they fall in love with a saddle-billed stork or colorful katydids, maybe they'll stop and learn about that animal and they'll figure out, eventually I put it all together, that how they live their lives impacts these animals. Can these species be saved? Yes, 100% they could be, almost 100%. Some of them can't be. Most of them can be, but we just need to pay them some mind. We need to pay them some attention. That's what we have to do. How do we do these? Well, we dress up off exhibit spaces. I did an interview earlier today, and a journalist said, "You really put these things on black and white backgrounds? That's a lot of work, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it's a lot of work, absolutely." But when we're talking about animals like this, like a little Joffrey's marmoset that is being phased out by zoos, meaning they're going to let it go to extinction because it's brown. It's brown. Brown animals, forget it. It's got to look like a Dr. Seuss character to make it. Zoos only have so much room. They are arcs, but they have to concentrate on things that will bring in money. Saving an Arctic ground squirrel in a zoo? I don't think so. Why should you care about the Arctic ground squirrel? There's a male and female hibernating. It takes about 4 hours to wake up. I posed them in a heart shape. It was Valentine's Day. Why should you care? They super cool their blood to below freezing. No other mammal does that. Nobody knows how. Wow. What else? They sleep 8 months out of the year. NASA's studying them for space travel. Coolest thing of all, stick a needle through their brain when they're awake. It kills them dead, of course. Stick a needle through their brain in their hibernative state. When they're asleep, they wake up just fine. How do they do it? Nobody knows. We better figure it out. This is one of the species going to go away first thing when the Arctic melts. First thing. How do we get people to care about clams? 75–80% of the mussel fauna in the U.S. is threatened or endangered now, telling us our water's so filthy they can't live in it. We still don't care enough to change our ways. Or this, an aquatic roly-poly bug the size of my little pinky nail that lives right there. That's the last spot. How do we get people to care about the least among us? I don't know. So I go on. I do these things as much as I can. 10 Sumatran rhinos left in captivity. Three red wakari monkeys left in captivity. 3 purebred Florida panthers left in captivity. 1 of these. Last one of this. Gentine Steiger. So, what do? I don't know. But of all the things I photographed, 2,500 species, this is what people watch. And again, sound please. Can you do the microphone one more time? Can we get sound? Thank you. So this is how we, this is what gets the attention. So it makes me think, okay, I'm going to start doing video all the stinking time in case something goes wrong. Because that's what people want to see. Whatever it takes to get them into the tent, count me in. It took about an hour to dress out this pen. That's about $50 worth of paper. We take duct tape. We take down every single inch. Chimps are very important, and they're in trouble around Africa. They're in a lot of trouble.
It's perfect for chimps. How long will that last? 60 seconds?
Not good. I got in my car and I drove home very disgusted. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Joel. Now we get to hear yet, I think, another success story. Vasco Galante, who's been behind the restoration of Gorongosa with Greg Carr for now 20 years, is going to talk about it in a talk entitled 20-Year Restoration of Gorongosa Park, Mozambique.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to talk about the Gorongosa restoration project. It's a 20 years commitment, and we are on 7th year now. And I think it's appropriate for me to show you a little bit of my office for the last 7 years. So, beautiful place located on the southern extreme of the Great Rift Valley, African Valley. It's a natural ecosystem, basically with natural boundaries. So the southern and northern boundaries are rivers, and the eastern and western is the Rift Valley. Beautiful landscape. Joel has been there, and he has done fantastic footage. You will see next year on the magazine an article showing the pictures of Gorongosa. Okay. So you can hear me now. Okay. Sorry. So this is the lake Urima, and there is a beautiful and immense variety of biodiversity. And this is how the floodplain looks like in the end of the rainy season. I just want to go to the next slide. So after the movie, I want to go to the next slide. Can you open? Can you open? Okay. So, sorry. Can you please go? So this is the Gorongosa ecosystem during the wet season. You can see basically that the park has these boundaries, and there is a Gorongosa mountain, which is the source of perennial water from the park. It changed a lot during the dry season. So now currently we are in dry season, and you can see there is a huge difference the different seasons. And this, of course, has an impact on the animal distributions. On the wet season, here we can see some of the most charismatic mammals of Gorongosa, with the beast, buffalo, and elephant. The way they are distributed during the wet season is different from the way they distribute themselves during the dry season. The park has been restored, and we are still learning a lot about the biodiversity. This is what we know now. There is an ongoing study on this, but we have, as you can see, interesting quantities of mammal species, amphibian species, more than 400 bird species, thousands estimated insect species. Currently we are knowing much more about this. There was some biodiversity, some biophysics happening last year with the presence of Professor Jargon and a team of experts from Harvard University. So we are going to learn much more about what we have. 33 reptile species and more than 2,000 estimated plant species. A little bit of background regarding Mozambique and Gorongosa. Here we can see what the human fossils that have been found since 3 million years ago. And we can see that there is no red point dots in Mozambique. And this probably because nobody has studied it. And so currently we have a team of paleoanthropologists that are studying, and they found human fossils in Gorongosa Park, also in the buffer zone. This is one of more reasons why it's so important to preserve this place. In terms of human presence in the Eastern Africa, here we can see a map showing the Bantu migration that took place 5,000 years ago, and we have proof about their arrival to the Eastern Africa and to what is currently Mozambique in the 3rd century after Christ. And to go a bit further, this is an image of what Dr. Livingstone was finding when he was exploring the Zambezi River, which is just north of the Gorongosa Park. This is the picture of the Mar Robert, the ship he was using, and that's an image of what he found in 1858 when he was going up the river. So plenty of wildlife. It was a place thriving with wildlife. And looking at the report he wrote by then, you can understand how beautiful and how diverse was that place. So what happened in the 20th century? In 1920, Gorongosa was considered was created as a hunting reserve initially. In 1935, it became a game reserve where hunting was forbidden, so there was some protection. And in 1960, it became the first national park of what was then the Portuguese Empire. So Mozambique is a former colony, it's a Portuguese-speaking country, although it is also part of the Commonwealth. So an interesting mix. It was very famous by then in the 60s. It was a place where basically there were, the census that was done by the 1969 told that there were 14,000 Cape Buffalo, 5,000 wildebeest, 3,000 zebra, 500 lions, 2,000 elephants, and many thousands of different exotic species. So it was a famous place. Hollywood stars were visiting. Here we have a picture on this corner, the right corner, with astronauts that went to the moon that were visiting Gorongosa. There was a war by then going on, an independence war, and we can see a little bit why. We don't see many white faces on the tourists on the 60s and 70s. And we just see white faces. The black faces, basically, they were waiters. And so Mozambique was fighting for its independence. He got it in 1975. And in 76, it started a disaster. So there was a civil war. And the Gorongosa was basically the place where that civil war was taking place. And most of wildlife was decimated. Basically, between 95 and 99% of the wildlife was decimated. So, in the end of the 90s, it looked like it was nothing could be done. But there was a hope created in 2004 when an American philanthropist named Greg Carr visited the park, falling in love with the place. And here we have, this picture shows greeting the president of Mozambique. So partnership started, a long-term agreement for 20 years. This was enabled to create the conditions to have scientists like Professor Edward Wilson visiting the park and falling in love to it also. And now we have this, we know what's happening in terms of losing the species in this century, as Joel was pointing. And so we need to protect what we have. And looking at what's happening in the world, we know that 10% or a little bit above 10% is being protected. Mozambique is similar. We can see that about 12% of Mozambique is unprotected. Gorongosa is this spot here on the center of Mozambique. And knowing that we have so many threats that Professor Wilson calls the EPO, so we have habitat loss, invasive species, population, pollution, overharvesting. We have our own threats, and what happened during the Civil War was a disaster, but this is worse. And so we have to think about how can we protect what we have. We have gold mining around the park on the buffer zone. We have timber harvesting. We have our rangers trying to protect the forest of the park. We have deforestation on the Gorongosa mountain. Overpopulation, when we talk about it now. Poaching, the erosion of population, and pollution from both different agricultural practices. Africa currently has 1 billion people, and Mozambique has 23. In 2050, Africa will have 2 billion people, and Mozambique will have 50 million. So what can we do to protect the national park, and what is really a national park? So of course we have to preserve what we have, which is beautiful, but it's not enough. We need to look at the national park from a different point of view. It's just not just conservation, it has to be human development. We have to have advocates from the local population surrounding the park. They have to be proud of their park. And that's what we are using educational media and bringing scientists to create this, to help to create this status of a place that everybody is proud of, especially the Mozambicans. Tourism is key. And this is an example. We create a community education center where we are bringing kids every week. So we have every week hundreds of kids coming to be submitted to workshops on educational environment. We know that the deficit in the health, so we are training community health workers that are the interface between the Minister of Health of Mozambique and their communities. So all these people live around the park, on the buffer zone of the park. We are building schools, health centers, bringing scientists. We are creating this Wilson Biodiversity Research Center, which will be very important to study what we have. And tourism, of course, is the key, because it brings sustainability. Media, so I'm just finishing. Media is very important for us. Of course, we are still doing conservation, but media project, we created a media project in order to create awareness of the park, locally and internationally. National Geographic has been very helpful. The movie Africa's Lost Eden was a big success and changed everything in our site. So we start having thousands of tourists visiting from all over the world after this movie. And this movie was very important because it was finally the way to convince local government to preserve the Gorongosa mountain. For 40 years, biologists, scientists have been fighting for it. With this movie, it was possible to get it. And so we are using social media. If you please go to facebook.com/Gorongosa, and you will see that daily we are updating and telling stories about the park. Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, so we are trying to create as much noise about the park as possible. We are trying to fish where the fish is. So the idea is to increase awareness in tourism, support for Gorongosa among Mozambicans and internationally also, increase donations, and educating inspire. We pretend that Gorongosa is a case study for other national parks. Next year we have two important projects. BBC has Africa Cities, 2 episodes will show Gorongosa. National Geographic magazine in March will have a great article, 19 pages from Professor Edward Wilson. And so I'm finishing saying just this. I hope that the children of our children will be able to see a sundown in Gorongosa. This is what we can see every day in the floodplain of our plaza. Thank you.
It's working now? Yeah. Thanks, Vasco. It's great to see a smart businessman combined with a benevolent and brilliant benefactor coming together in this way. It's a light for us all to follow. 2 more speakers. We're going to move quickly, and I appreciate everybody staying put. It's been a great group. The next person, we've been around the world a little bit. We get to go to Abu Dhabi now and hear from Ali Anwar Mohammed Gargash. He's going to talk about vote conservation, vote Butina, inspiring a nation and beyond to support conservation.
Hello everyone, my name is Ali Gargash. I work at the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates. Thank you very much, John. I'm going to be speaking about Butina, which is an island that before 2009 wasn't really known about, even in the United Arab Emirates, fairly because it's about 4 hours away off the coast of Abu Dhabi. It doesn't really have any human population, and it is a thriving ecosystem. And what we were doing over there is we wanted to promote it in a campaign that was run by the New Seven Wonders Foundation. And our main goal in this was not to promote